Could we hypothetically see Casper at the price of 25 cents in 2025? I don't see why not, even though that's not financial advice. And the reason is because I do believe that this could be a very special year for Casper. I get it, the price hasn't been doing the best, but historically speaking, we do know that as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they typically peak around a year and a half after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, if we base it off that date, that would actually mean around October of this year in 2025. Now, I'm not saying that that is exactly when Casper is going to reach its peak, or also with a bunch of other altcoins. But I think this, if anything, does give a good benchmark as to when we could really see things pop in again as a worst case scenario. Now, again, when it comes to Casper, it's been through a lot. Let's face it. Hasn't been the best. There was a lot of FUD. A lot of people now believe in it again to a certain extent. But I think better days are ahead. And I think this year could be very special because when you think about it, people, they often forget about the past very easily when it comes to this crypto space overall. Take a look at Luna Classic. People don't talk about that anymore. Some people love Luna Classic. Take a look at Klima DAO. They don't really care. Take a look at, for instance, XRP. Went through a lot as well. People don't really care. So when it comes to Casper, I think as of right now, as a lot of the bad news, I would say, when it comes to Casper Labs becoming Prove AI and moving on to Hedera, after that all passed, people are like, yeah, we don't really care. And that's why as of right now, we're seeing Casper hovering above 1.5 cents. Now, I get it. It hasn't been doing the best, but I think this year could be very special. And I think it's just going to get better, the sentiment, as time progresses, because as this bull run gets into third, fourth, and fifth gear, as more and more people enter in Casper, as they forget about whatever happened with Casper in the past, I think this, if anything, is really going to create a very positive narrative for Casper. And why would this bull run be bad? There's over 600 million crypto owners currently, according to Crypto.com research. That's more than ever before in history. Not to mention, if you take a look at Charles Hoskinson, who is not only the co-founder of Ethereum, but the founder of Cardano, he does predict that in the next 1 or 2 years, based on a video that he was a part of back in November, he did say that he could very well see Bitcoin at that time frame reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. That's kind of insane. Let's say we assume that his worst case price target scenario does come true with considering his best case time frame, which is a year. Let's say we assume this hypothetical scenario. That means based off that prediction, hypothetically, Bitcoin reaches $250,000 in November of this year. Let's say that does happen. Can you imagine at that point, 25 cents for Casper may seem like a breeze in my opinion, because if Casper were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $3 billion. That's kind of like peanuts in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion. We've seen Ethereum reach around 550 billion. We've seen BNB reach over 100 billion. So I'm not talking about crazy figures here. At least that's the way to take a look at it. And again, as the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships. If Bitcoin does very well, I think something like Casper will also do very well, especially again, if it were to go to the price of $250,000. I just don't see why not Casper at the price of 25 cents. And again, I think 2025 could be a very special year. And as we all know, people, they usually latch onto new narratives because, yes, people initially like Bitcoin, they moved on to Ethereum, and then they became a big fan of layer 1 blockchains. They take a look at Solana, Avalanche, Algorand. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But then, what is a layer 1 blockchain that is often underrated, often misunderstood? That's something like Casper, because when you take a look at Casper, fundamentally, it's pretty much up there. And I think that it has better traits when compared to something like Solana, also people like BNB for whatever reason, and also Ethereum. I'm going to talk about them later. But when you take a look at Casper, this could be the next big narrative, because not only do I think that it's a very amazing layer 1 blockchain with very low gas fees, that's very scalable. Not only that, man, it's very low, relatively speaking, in terms of market cap. And theoretically, the lower something is, the more room it has to grow. And why wouldn't this be a big narrative? Again, people usually like hypothetical upside. Not to mention, people also like things that have good perceived fundamentals. And if you take a look at Solana, even despite experiencing 8 different network outages in just a time span of a year, people like it still. Even though it doesn't have the best adoption, let's face it, it doesn't, because there's a bunch of meme coins on Solana. That doesn't mean it has good adoption. People still like it anyways. Why? Because it has good perceived adoption. But the other thing about Casper is that it doesn't really have this reputation, unlike Solana. I get it. Not too long ago, there was an alleged breach or whatever, and then the network was kind of allegedly down for a bit. But it got fixed very quickly, and not to mention, again, Solana, at 1.8 in the year, that's nearly once a month. I mean, Casper has one slight issue, and then this whole thing, people start panicking. Yeah, I mean, come on. That's not a big deal, especially when compared to Solana's alleged 8 in a year at one point, even though it got fixed. Casper also got fixed though. But even besides that, I think Casper is much better in that department when compared to Solana. Not to mention, you take a look at when it comes to, again, the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem, slightly over 2% of the crypto hacks in 2023 actually happened on there, according to Crypto.com research. That's a lot. That's slightly over 2 out of every 100. That's kind of insane to think about. That's not good. Again, Casper doesn't really see any of that type of nonsense. I'm not saying that Casper is perfect by any means, but it doesn't see that. Not to mention Ethereum, it has to rely on these layer 2s in my opinion. Despite having a good ecosystem, despite having a good fan base, why does it need to rely on layer 2s? It's because gas fees are often sky high and it's arguably not even scalable. So if you take a look at Casper, it's much better. Not to mention, also on top of that, the market cap is way lower. I think this could be such a huge talking point and also a huge narrative during this bull run. But only time will tell. Usually, something like this does take a while to really get going. But once it does, it could be something very special. And I think growth beyond the price of 5 cents could really be somewhat exponential. Because if you think about it, Cardano's native token called ADA, going to the price of around 3 cents to $1 was very difficult. But then to $2 and $3 felt very easy. Sometimes people want to see this barrier be breached before they believe in something. So when you take a look at Casper, let's say it goes to the price of 5 cents. At that point, 10 cents is just a 2x away from that. Now, at that point, 20 cents is just a 2x away from that. And then at that point, 25 cents is just within reaching distance, I should say, right? So when you think about that, Casper, man, I think it's really poised for amazing things. And it's not like even 25 cents is that far away anyways. That right there is around a 15x from here. So when you think about it, Casper, man, it just kind of feels like it could hypothetically reach that during this bull run. It just feels so close, but yet still so far because it's still over 10x from here, reaching that. But in my opinion, man, it just feels so close and I really can't wait. But I'm going to still stay patient anyways because I've been acquiring Casper ever since 2021. So I'm going to stay patient and I'm going to still accumulate more and more Casper because, of course, anytime I accumulate Casper, I stake it and I just hold and I just wait. That's it. I mean, Casper staking rewards, in my opinion, are pretty good. I get it. People may think that it's arguably not the best of all time. Well, who cares? I think it's pretty good, especially for a project that I believe in. Not to mention as well, instead of me acquiring something like Solana, BNB, Ethereum, I'd rather choose a layer 1 blockchain much like this. Much lower market cap, better fundamentals. I'm not saying better ecosystem or better fans, but again, I like the fundamentals a lot better. And not to mention, Casper has a pretty good following. It's very passionate. If you take a look at Casper, the amazing thing about the community is that no matter, let's say the project is doing bad or doing good, I'm not saying that 100% will still be positive, but then even at times when I saw Casper doing very bad, like especially when it dipped below the price of 1 cent, nearly even going to the price of half a cent when that whole debacle happened with, again, Casper Labs becoming Proof AI and moving on to Hedera, even then I saw so much support when it comes to Casper. People still believe in it then. So when you take a look at Casper, it has that passion, it has that strong community. It's not the biggest, but when you have a community this passionate and also Casper being listed in some pretty big exchanges, I do believe that this bull run could be so amazing for Casper, but it's just a waiting game. Casper really gives me that vibe of a project that is often underrated, underappreciated, but actually very special. And this is why I like it so much. Again, Casper is kind of this sleeper project, again, no pun intended, because there is the Casper mattress brand, but again, still even despite that, I do believe that Casper is pretty much a sleeping giant, kind of ignored. The price chart doesn't look the best, but I think it doesn't really tell the whole story as to just how amazing Casper is. And also, I think that Casper has good hypothetical upside, which is why I still believe in it. And again, 25 cents during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Bye.